Looking back at the game, I think there were two things heading into the game that we felt like we needed to handle. Um, we found out midweek that we lost. We were going to be out four D linemen, so we knew we were out Jameer Diaz just because of how his ankle was feeling. We tried to go with him. He was kind of an up and down guy all week, and then we lost three defensive tackles, so it kind of changed our approach midweek with regards to the game. Um, we were stressed a little bit up front, didn't have the depth. I know Shafan Boyd played a boatload of snaps, and a number of guys played a lot because we didn't have guys to rotate through. So we were, I think, twofold. We were concerned about trying to uh, cover that weakness on the defensive line and do what we could personnel wise. And then offensively, we felt like we're going up against number one defense in the conference. They were a legitimate defense. It was a very we thought they were very talented, and they turned out to be. We thought they were very good schematically, and it was exactly what we expected. We just wanted to be able to finish in the red zone. If we were able to move the football, we wanted to be able to finish in the red zone. We just felt like we might have to score early and try to maintain either a lead or just status in the game where we're competing. We just felt like we needed to up our game offensively, and we failed in the low red zone. Didn't do a great job on O. We had 502 yards on offense. We rushed for just under 300 yards. That's good production against a really good defense, but what matters most is what you put on the board, and probably our biggest failure on game day against La Tech was the red zone offensive stuff, and so it cost us. And then defensively, we really struggled. I was not happy with open field tackling, and I thought it was a little tough to overcome some of our losses up front, and so those were the two issues in that game, among many, but those were the two issues in the game I thought that had the greatest impact. With regards to the approach heading into this week, I tell you that we closed this game up pretty quickly, and our focus now is on the final third of the season. Um, a real good coach told me one time, they remember what you do in November, and that's our focus right now. And so we are locked in one game at a time, and we'll start this trek through November with Oregon State on Saturday away.
Let's go and get some questions. We'll go ahead and start off with Carlos.
Coach, despite the lopsided score, your offense was still able to put 500 yards plus between the passing game and the running game. Just confidence-wise, what does that give it for your guys on the offensive side for these last four?
In the sport of football, there are a lot of little different worlds, right? You have the receiver room in that world, and you have the DB room in that world, and you've got offensive and defensive units, and you've got those two worlds, and then you have the whole team. And at the end of the day, it's the cumulative production by all three facets that create wins for us. From Zach Patterson's standpoint as the offense coordinator here, we are doing some good things offensively. We are trending in the right direction. We have gotten better week to week, regardless of what the injuries are, who the personnel is. We have continued to emphasize certain areas and improve certain areas and progress. And so you want to see that trend continue through the next 4 weeks, and I think we're going to need to do that because we play some pretty good teams here, and I just think the offensive production from a scoring standpoint has to improve, and obviously low red zone and red zone offense will be our focus going into this week. But overall, morale is good on offense. I think we know we have a little bit of momentum because of the progress. The offensive line is slowly but surely getting better and becoming more and more consistent. Quarterback decision-making is becoming more consistent, and I think we're doing a better job protecting, which has allowed our receivers to make some plays. And then, of course, the real bright spot was one, Elijah Green, but just Coco and the rest of those guys in conjunction with our O-line being able to control the line of scrimmage and run the football, at this level. And so if those things continue, I feel good about where we're headed offensively.
Let's get a question from Jonathan Buckner.
Hey, Coach. Back on the player personnel, I know we're expecting to see a couple faces on Saturday that week or Friday night that we didn't see. You already touched on Diaz, but I think we are also going to see McCaskill and a few other players. Just wanted to get kind of a general update on their health.
So we were excited about seeing Alton as well. I mean, he practiced all week, and he tried to go and pregame, and for whatever reason, his ankle didn't feel good, so that was kind of a last minute deal. Um, and so it was disappointing because obviously he is an explosive player. Thankfully for us, Elijah Green decided to step in and take care of being the every down guy, and he did a good job for us. And then, I don't know that Coco Brown gets the credit he deserves, but he's been the blue collar stalwart in our backfield all season, and he's a big part of the improvement offensively.
Colin?
Looking at Oregon State, they've been having a rough year on their end, but they're coming off of a two-game. They won back-to-back games. They took care of the FCS opponent, and they coming off of a win against Washington State. Just kind of what is your outlook on this on the Beavers?
So, Colin, I would tell you, Oregon State is very balanced on offense. They've got two quarterbacks. Malik Murphy is the quarterback that they've had. He's played most of their snaps. I think and I don't know if it's because of the coaching change or not, but I think they made a change soon after the head coaching change. They have won both games under the new interim head coach, and they've also played Jabari Johnson. So, those two guys are very, very different. So, and Colin, you asked me about the two quarterback system earlier in the season with regards to our defense facing a team that had two QBs. This one's a little more challenging just because Malik and Jabari are very different. They're very different quarterbacks, and Jabari's a very talented, gifted runner as well. And they leaned on the run game a little bit more after the coaching change and while Jabari was out on the field. And so we have to prepare for two of them. Don't know which one we're going to see. We may see both of them. They're both very different. And so we just got to be ready for what that skill set is for the whichever quarterback they choose on that particular down or drive or quarter. So defensively, it's getting ready for two different ones. I think from an offensive standpoint, they do well in the box. They're solid in the box. They've got a good defensive line. Linebackers are aggressive. It's a very different look and a different feel from what we faced last week. And they're going to stop the run first, like most defenses want to do. And in games where they have played well, I think they've done a good job at stopping the run. And so they're going to try to force you to be a little bit more one-dimensional. I think they would like to force you to try to beat them in the air, and so we're going to have to be balanced. We were balanced this last game. We want to continue to do that. That really has nothing to do with run yards and pass yard balance. It has everything to do with we are spreading the ball out, and a lot of guys are touching the football. And between Tim Burns and Quaviz Humphreys and Chris Reed and Malik Phillips, and then we've got O'Neill's been very involved, and we've been using three running backs a game, and so that's what we want. We want 6, 7, 8 skill guys touching the football, so you have to defend them all. That's balanced to us offensively, and we've done a better job of that in the games where we played well offensively, and so that needs to continue moving forward against Oregon State.
Ben Sorrells?
Yeah, Hunter left the game with what looked like a knee injury later on and didn't come back in. Was that just strictly precautionary? And then we've seen Mabry late in games a few times. How have you seen him progress throughout the year, and what is your evaluation of his play?
So with regards to Hunter, it was a knee. MRI came back negative. There's no issue. It's stable. And so, he has a pre-existing injury there, and so they're kind of referring to some scar tissue, which was causing the pain on game day. And so he's day-to-day right now. We're just waiting to see how his knee responds. I don't think we're overly concerned, but I don't know any more about his status right now other than it's a day-to-day deal to see how his knee feels from a pain standpoint. And then with regards to Mabry, he has played some, hasn't played a lot. He's had some good drives and some not so good drives. And then we've had some drives end because of of some other things. He's laid a couple third down throws in there that should have been able to convert, and we weren't able to hold on to them. But the game is slowing down for him a little bit because of the knowledge base. He's been in the system for 2 years, and so this will be an opportunity for him, to try to get started earlier because he's going to play earlier, obviously, and get himself into a rhythm. And we'll play to Mabry's strengths, which are going to be a little bit different than Hunter's. And again, for him, it'll come down to good decision making.
Colton?
You kind of talked about the tackling earlier, but what have you seen kind of this week to improve that going into Oregon State?
Well, there's areas that we have that we feel confident about. There's areas that you execute well certain areas of the year. Last couple of weeks, I have not been as happy with our open field tackling, and so this is a professional staff, right? You sit down, you talk to the side that it pertains to, and we have issues on offense, defense, and special teams. We address all of those in all three facets every week, and the defensive staff has the same frustrations, they have the same focus, and they have the same emphasis. And so obviously open field tackling is an emphasis for us. I do think we are going to return DJ Jackson, and we're going to return Dylan Frazier, and we're going to return Cordell Pat this week. So the 3D linemen we lost last week will now be back. They are practicing, and they will make the trip and play for us again Saturday. And so hopefully we get back to a little bit more normalcy up front on defense, emphasize open field tackling here, and put together a better 4 quarters defensively this week against Oregon State.
Back over to Colin.
Yeah, Coach, this program has now endured a 0-8 record for 2 of the last 3 seasons, and fans and supporters have rightfully gotten frustrated. I was just wondering, what would be your message to them, as there's not only these last 4 games to go, but also an off season to look forward to?
That's a great question. Here's what I would tell you. I would tell you the same thing I tell the fans, that I tell our players, that I tell our boosters, and our staff talks about. And that's, one, we have great confidence in the plan here and great confidence in the process. And I think, I say sometimes you can't let, in this sport, you can't let one game affect the next. You can't let one loss affect the next. And it's a matter of regrouping, refocusing, and putting everything you have into the next game. And we're going to do that for the next 4 weeks because that's what's left on the season. And we're focused on the last third of the season, but we're focused on Oregon State, which is the only thing that matters right now. And then we'll lock in on Delaware and so on. But I would tell all of you same thing that our players would tell you, and that is we believe in the plan. We're sticking with the plan. This is not my first rodeo. I've been through rebuilding a program before. Mac Brown took over North Carolina. They had won 5 games in 2 years, and the morale, the momentum, the confidence in the program, just the desire to even be in the football building, was extremely low and negative, and it just took a little bit of time. And that's the only thing I can tell you, is to hang tight and be patient. I know it's hard. I would say this, it's no easier for the coaches. It's no easier for the players. We don't want to be in this situation any more than people want to see us in this situation. But I think we know what we're capable of. We know where we're going. We know the things behind the scenes that are getting better. And we're going to look back at this season at some point, just like they did in the past, because I would point out, after the last time they had a struggling season, they went 10-3 and won the New Orleans Bowl. And I think the future for us is going to be just fine. I'm as impatient as anybody you'll ever meet. I want everything to happen yesterday. I want the player development to happen yesterday. I want the mistakes to get cleaned up yesterday. I want better offensive production. I want a more physical, better tackling defense right now. We want to move on from being competent special teams to a special teams that can give us an opportunity to turn the tide, win field position, and help us win a ball game. You know, I want our staff to continue to improve what they all need to improve on. I need to continue to improve on what I've got to improve on. And we're all working on it. And I think as soon as you take the blinders off and you let the noise, the outside noise, which every coach in America talks to their team about, you distract from the process. And it's not productive. And for the staff, it's pretty easy for us because we just put the blinders on the next day, lock in, and we go to work. And for 8 weeks now, we've had a team that has followed suit. They followed their coaches, and they're doing the same thing. Is there frustration? 100%. If there wasn't, I'd be concerned. If people could relax and handle the type of season we're having, I would be concerned. You know, when there's frustration because they're not playing up to how well they know they can play, either from an individual or a position room or a team standpoint, well, we should be frustrated. You know, then we've got to turn that frustration into positive energy the next day, and there's no way to get better tomorrow until you race yesterday and you move on. And that's going to be the way we handle this. And then it won't be too long from now, Colin, where we're talking about some different things, and this is going to be old news. In the meantime, our noses to the grindstone, and we're going to hammer out the best game plan we can for the next game, which is Saturday.